So hello, I am Linde. I'm representing Velux. Velux is a company that is most famous for rooftop windows. I know it does not scream software development, but it is actually a very global company, maybe in Baltics less, but in Europe, in a wider Europe, it is well known. And as any global company, at some point you need to have to invest in digital solutions. So there is internal IT, with more traditional IT, and then there are weirdos like me. Today I am representing a team humbly called Cloud Center of Excellence. Although we are excellent, the name itself does not tell what we do. We are a platform engineering team. We are 12, so it is getting too cozy. At some point we may need to split, but today I heard that some companies have separate teams for different tracks. We do it all. We have Redis, we have databases, we have on-prem clusters, and we have cloud clusters. So our domain is quite large. We are responsible about 23 Kubernetes clusters, most of them in on-prem, 17 are on-prem, because each factory has a small data center and there is a Kubernetes cluster running there. And then we use Azure, which maybe is not popular choice in this audience, but that's what we're working. So we are providing for Velux an internal developer platform. So we provide these clusters as an environment for developers to run their applications on. So platform engineering is trendy. KubeCon has a separate co-event, platform engineering and all that. So maybe multiple people have some sort of suspicions that it's the new trend and everybody is jumping on it and why and etc. I'm not going to sell you platform engineering today. I just want to align what it means for me. So to boil it down, for me, it means to not reinvent the wheel. So we provide some capabilities that all developer teams need, and they can start their projects on sort of higher abstraction layer, and they don't have to deal with more our stuff. So that is my promise to developers, that I will hide something away from them so they can focus on developing. Sounds easy. So, but once upon a time, 4-ish years ago, we were just a proof of concept. With my new perspective, as I have gained experience as a platform engineer, I recognize it took some guts and some courage of managers at the time to create this team. Because Velux is a manufacturing company, it's more traditional, it did not start at let's have software. So they needed to make software because to be relevant. So they have a lot of traditional stuff still. So we are sort of created to create a movement to more modern ways of working. So what we got clean subscriptions, clean everything, everything's fresh, nice, no history. We had a lot of creative space to work on and be creative. But empty clusters does not make a platform. Then the abstraction layer is not really that high, because they could also ask the traditional infrastructure team, hey, give me a VM. We are giving them VMs just with Kubernetes on top, and not much capabilities and benefits there. So when we started, our absolute laser focus was to must get capabilities. Absolutely, that was only our focus. So we were rummaging basically in the C and CF space. A lot of our tools are open source. We do pay for some of them. So it was fun. It was dynamic. We were speed climbing on the learning curve. You can imagine not all engineers in the team knew Kubernetes at the time, me included. Then you dive in and then you learn to swim, basically. So that's what we did. And by the end of this journey, we have created a big toolbox with Obviously, I'm not going to fit all logos here, but you can get the picture. And this is not a quiz of CNCF tooling. That's not my intention here. But what we also created a mass of interfaces. So each new capability we added into our clusters also created an interface. And they were not consistent. So, for example, pgadmin has each pgadmin instance was for one instance for cluster. So you would have 17 links or 23 or for each environment. So anybody who was using databases would have to go, oh, I have to do something in dev, then I go to the next one. Then Grafana, we have centralized solutions, so all the logs, all the metrics, all the traces goes to one instance in a centralized cluster. So that is different ways of working. Some tools had single sign-ons, some did not. So there was a sort of a complete mess around the interfaces. And the analogy I like to make is that we had created Ferrari, but we made developers drive it on a dirt road. So the experience of this car is not exactly the best, almost terrible. And yes, and that time I was mostly doing onboarding meetings. I am talkative against my Latvian nature. So I was always stuck on these meetings to onboard new developers. And with having multiple meetings of them, I already started to edit out almost 80% of our capabilities. Because you could see that after like fifth tool you mentioned, the developers just glaze over, their eyes are just lost. And they're like, huh, what, why? So it's not the best first impression of our platform, and if we want to sell our platform to the internal organization, we may need to be more approachable. So I basically reduced our platform to 4 tools, which is Dockerfile, Helm chart, GitHub, and registry, which are such basic components for our platform. So all the cool and stylish stuff was not included. So yes, so basically, and as I started, our promise was to hide away complexity, but reality, we just created our own complexity. So we just replaced it, not hide it away. So we were not true to our promise for developers. So we finally had to work on it and do hide it away. Maybe it was destiny or fate or pure luck, but management of our team changed, and the new manager, Henrik, came in with a very clear vision that we need to put DevOps into the mix. Because we were doing a lot of engineering of platform, but not platform engineering. So we basically stole what our interfaces could be from major global platforms we use every day. So GitHub, Azure portal. So most of them have a web UI. You can clickety-click. I need a key vault. I need a VM. I go fill a form, wait, and I get what I needed. And not always I need to know how it was done. I just need the result of it. And then most of them also have a CLI. So you can automate, you can add scripts and interact with the platform without going into the web UI. So that's our focus is now. So for web UI, we use Backstage. What a surprise. There is always conversation between build and buy. But Backstage was a clear choice of just getting. We are not buying it. Because, I mean, there is a lot of support, a lot of community. Again, there is Backstage co-event for KubeCon, so you can share knowledge, and we knew that our domain is already big. Creating a portal, a lot of effort, and we will not make it better than existing one. So the focus for our Backstage instance is that all the signals, all the information we previously had in those different tools, we just merge and consolidate in this one portal. So when you go to your service in catalog, you can click through. You can see what's the commit running in production? Is my Helm release healthy? Do I have errors? How Kyverno is it screaming at me or something like that? And then we try to put as many templates as we can into the backstage so developers can do self-service. And then we have Bura CLI. I'm the core maintainer of this one. This is totally built by us, very opinionated. So it's hard-coded that it's Flux. So for Argo CD users, it's not going to be usable. I'm very satisfied with the word Bura. If there is any other Latvians here, Bura means sail on a boat. So first, it's Latvian. Second, it's short, so when you type it out in a CLI, it's short and sweet. And then it's also with the seafaring theme of Kubernetes, Helm, Docker, and it shows, hey, you can get faster to your destination with this thing. I'm very nerdy and proud of this choice of name. And the focus for Bura is to automate our release process. When we move to GitOps, I have all the joy, and I'm very happy about GitOps, but it doubled our pull requests when we moved to it. So we have so spammy chats that we recognize that we need to automate this as fast as possible. And then we also split whole CI/CD process with small atomic actions. Of course, we do require some process for developers to get into clusters. And we make or allow these actions to be run locally in a sense that, hey, you want to scan your container before you promote it to test and prod. You can do it locally to check already now that you will not be stopped or blocked further in the process, because then getting back is more expensive. And our focus is also to make it as flexible as possible, because with GitHub workflow templates, it is either you take it all or you don't use it. Obviously, then you can add inputs, and boy, my templates are with a lot of inputs, because then you can sort of edit the behavior of the template. But then it gets complex, it's harder to read. I am becoming the sole person who can read them, and that is not good for the team health, that you have sort of a person of responsibility for a certain component. Then you, of course, can choose to split the templates, but then you have more of them, and then there is other issues. So here with Bura, we made sure that you can opt out for some task and customize it if you need to, but then you can use 95% rest of the default or the scripts and tasks we provide. All right. So I actually have live demo, so fingers crossed. All right. I'm in our, it's not showing. How do I switch to my help?
Okay.
Yes, I will. Thank you. So we are in our dev instance of Backstage. I created the demo template. So let's fill the form. So this is the clickety-click part of CCOE. So I fill the form. And okay. All right. Git clone. No. Demo. Where is it? Okay. So clickety-click part of the. So we have so this is a simple service template where we provide a chart, Helm chart. We use Helm chart, Helm controller. Then we have a hello world. And for the purposes of this demo, let's use Tallinn. And then I can use Bura commands. Bura run build container scan container and push container. So yes, it will build, check if it's vulnerable, and then push it to the registry. All right, and then I can Bura create release with the version local. And then Bura release, no, wait, I actually needed to do this. And then Bura release version local. Why did not I film it? So, I will reconcile source git CCV. This is a quiz for me to remember these commands. All right. All right, and then we can go to VKS. All right. So, so this is the idea how fast a developer can get to dev locally, and then obviously they can edit the Docker image and do all the fancy stuff. But I know the satisfaction they get from finally getting something running. So we want to get them fast to see a running pod and then help them with the journey how to do it. For disclaimer, in production, you cannot get via local commands, obviously, but dev is dev. Yes, so I can continue. All right, so this is where we are. We started this journey somewhere around last year, September, so it's somewhere in the middle. And sometimes to share a success, you need some metrics, because management. So this is very pure, how many GitOps releases have been made to our clusters. Obviously, the data also includes that we are just scaling. We are not a POC no longer. We are scaling, more teams are coming, so obviously more GitOps releases are running. But I think the trend is very clear, and we are having more frequent, more smaller changes, and that's a good thing. Yes, progress over perfection, maybe a year after. This presentation will be completely different. I am already thinking about the major version of Bura, because some things are not exactly working, or maybe are more complex than they need to be. I want to hide even more of our platform. Currently, developers do have Kubernetes kubectl access to clusters, and I hate it. But we currently do. We are in this situation that they do have, and they feel that they need it, and we need to improve other interfaces before we can just. So maybe we will get there. I hope, I really do. But I think we are sort of in a better direction than we was when we sort of a while ago. So I will leave this one quote with one sentence in this presentation. I just finished reading this book on my way to Tallinn. And when I read this sentence, it really hit me like a wall of bricks, because this was my experience that our DevOps is shit. And so now I live with this vision that I want the developers love our platform just like I love it. And so I need to pave the way so they can use that Ferrari on a smoother road. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda, for a presentation and first live demo. Everyone else was not so brave and recorded. Do we have any questions?
Yeah. Thank you for this presentation. I think at least it spoke to me in a sense. What are the top 3 things you wish you'd known before you started on this journey?
How to split GitOps repositories. That is certainly one. Yes, and we really needed to start it faster with hiding away the tools we use. Because we reach a density of tooling and not a technical density, so we could always scale up clusters, add more, that's not an issue. But it was adoption resistance. So nobody back off, I have enough. So I think we really needed to invest more already to not just, here you go, just, so that would be I am not sure how I exactly would do it, but, and maybe I would not, because when we migrated to GitOps, what we did, we created parallel clusters and then was let's just flip. And 2 years later, we still have old production. I would have added GitOps in the cluster we are running in. But that's maybe not DevOps, that's my personal pain. Yes.
I have 2 questions, actually. How do you deal with life cycle of all those things which developers create? Because usually one of the problems when you give this self-service, people start creating a lot of stuff, and when they are done playing, they just go and do other work, and then you end up with a lot of craft. So, and it's usually really tricky to track it down. So how do you solve it? And maybe since you have 17 clusters, you mentioned
70 on-prem and 6.5.
How do you maybe decide that, okay, now we need a new cluster, or the other way around, oh, we probably need to consolidate and get rid of 3 of them and have one large, if you ever do that, or maybe you just add.
The second question is easy. 17 clusters are very hard coded in a sense because factories are 17. So if there is any more, if suddenly a factory is boom, then we can remove a cluster, but otherwise it stays there. So that's a clear. The other thing, we actually did experience it. We are, as a side gig, we are GitHub admins because we have not enough stuff to do. So we are adding GitHub users. But when we started GitHub, we are everybody gets a repo. You want to create a repo, you want to create, feel free. And then we got this spam of crap, testing 111 or, and then it's And then we blocked. And then there was a lot of heated conversations. How can you block developers to? And that's a valid point, like why we are coming in and blocking their sort of work. And then that was the first pain point we fixed with Backstage. Template, here you go. And we put already catalog info and a lot of Backstage things into an empty Git repository. So they are, in the service catalog, they are already showing up. This team is owning these repositories and etc. Yeah, that's how we, yeah.
Let's have one more question.
Thank you. Awesome demo. One question about the provisioned, you're using the Backstage. So was the infrastructure there before the Kubernetes and everything, or is just a template for the service?
No, the Kubernetes, we have a central Kubernetes clusters, which is sort of our production. So all the services that are centralized, like Grafana, for example, and now Backstage is running in that cluster. So it's separate from the other. For example, production is a separate cluster. So infrastructure was there. Clusters were like the first thing we ever created, and everything came after it.
And a follow-up, do you allow development teams to create infra on demand with using your platform engineering toolbox, or not yet?
No. They don't care, most of them also. Yes.
Okay, let's have a round of applause for Linda. Thank you.